Hey everybody, welcome to this week's live stream. I hope you're all doing great. Hope some of you guys might have been able to see the solar eclipse. We checked it out. It was pretty spectacular. Always wear the proper eye protection things, but pretty cool stuff. So we're starting the day off with something kind of cool, and we're going to keep on rolling with cool stuff. So real quick, let's look at what we got here. So a while back when we turned that my pencil pot out of one of those, and I still got it here. It's holding my pens nicely. So we turned this and I drilled out the center of this blank and we got lots of cool shavings. And I've collected a few other cool ones as I've gone along. So I thought let's try and make some stopper blanks. I think we're making stoppers. Yeah, stopper blanks. And they're going to go to the subscribers, the subscription box folks. But let's try and reuse some shavings. Now, in the past, I've used some shavings and I didn't really love the results. And I think that I figured out a way to use them and not have as bad a result. Now, number one, you have to have pretty dark colors on your ribbons. So just for instance, there's some like white. This is probably going to kind of, what I find is, unless you have like really dark, like dyed colors, like, using divine pigments or something like that, or a lot of mica powder, it kind of disappears. The resin kind of melds with it and it kind of goes away. And so that was one of the issues that I've had with it. If you're going to reuse shavings, I would probably recommend use shavings that have really bright colors. That way you can see them. And so what I was thinking is, we'll make some stoppers and we'll just kind of not jam pack them full. We'll just kind of put some in there and just kind of see how they work. Like I said, I haven't really been super excited about, recasting shavings just because I haven't gotten awesome results. But we got some pretty funky shavings with some colors and all kinds of good stuff going on in here. So I thought that would be kind of fun. It's something a little bit different, and we'll, based on what we start with, we'll be able to see. Now, some of these colors aren't, like if I really wanted to do something with ribbons like this, recasting them, to be honest, I might even just make a blank and just load it up with lots of colors, drill it out, get those funky shavings, and then know that we're going to have some pretty cool looking colors that aren't going to disappear so much in the resin. But anyway, it should be pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know what the percentage was. So Jim was saying that it's 91% eclipse in Katy, Texas. We were just outside. So on the east side of Nevada, that was like 100% or pretty close. We're on the kind of the west side of Nevada, and it was a little bit, it wasn't full. We didn't get the full ring. But it was cool. We went and got, Lowe's had the little glasses, that you can get for like a couple bucks. And so we popped out at like, between like 8:30 and 9:30, and we'd kind of go out and look. Chad Schimmel is in Utah. So he got like the full on, he's in like Salt Lake City, which is like, I think they got 100%. He actually got video. I don't know. And I was trying to hold the glasses up in front of my phone and get pictures and doing all this kind of stuff and video. And it just really, I got like one picture that maybe with a lot of editing and cleanup, I can maybe figure it out, but you could kind of see the sun and the little, moon shape on it. But they weren't working with my phone for some reason. So, hey, there's Mark. What's up, man? Yeah, no problem. Glad to help. Let's see, you were asking, what were you asking about? Oh, the temperature gun. So this is a good thing to kind of bring up. So Mark was asking, what is this temperature thing that I use, and I check the temperature of the resin. And I wanted to kind of go over that. Actually, I'm glad you were here, because I was going to kind of mention this at the beginning. So for resin casting, the temperature, the reason that I use a temperature gun has to do with blending colors together. If you just mix up resin and then dump it all together, and like let's say you had like a red and a blue, two different cups, and you just dumped them all together. If you just mix it and pour right away, all those colors are just gonna it's probably gonna end up purple. If you were doing like red and blue, it's all gonna bleed together. So what we do is we wait till the end of the working time. So the working time of the resin, like I use alumilite clear slow typically, and the working time is about 12 minutes or so, give or take. It depends on the temperature in the shop and whatever, you know, how much resin you're using and all kinds of stuff. But generally about 12 minutes. And so originally when I first started casting, I had like a timer and I would time things, but the problem is it just doesn't really work that well with timing because, you know, when are you going to start the timer? When you pour the resin in, how long do you wait until you start stirring? Like you just can't get a consistent result using time. Timers are nice to kind of know about how long has it been sitting there, just to kind of know, but it's just not consistent enough. And so the temperature, what you're doing is once you've mixed up your resin, the temperature is going to start increasing. It gives off, it's an exothermic reaction is what the resin is doing. That's what the chemical reaction is, which means it gives off heat. And so as it's going through the working time and while it's curing as well, it's going to give off heat. And so that temperature of the resin starts climbing as it starts getting to the point where it's going to harden up. And so the temperature is a much more consistent way to kind of be able to pour about at the same time. Now, the temperature has nothing to do with anything. It's not like, the temperature is what the factor is. It's really more about the viscosity of the resin. And that temperature is going to remain somewhat consistent as long as your ambient temperature in the shop is the same. Okay, so that's a big factor. If it's, you know, like right now it's like 69 degrees in my shop. So the temperature at 69 degrees in my shop, you know, the temperature of the resin, I can pretty much consistently, if I start pouring at the same time, get pretty consistent results where it's not going to bleed if I've figured out the right temperature. Now, if it's like 90 degrees in my shop, that temperature, you can throw it out the window because part of the problem is the resin starts, like when it's cooler in your shop and your resin's just sitting on the counter, it's going to start thicker viscosity from the start, right? When it's 90 degrees in my shop, the resin in the jug is thinner starting out. And so there's a lot of factors that are going on, but the ultimate thing is the temperature. What we're doing is we're trying to get a consistent timing of when to pour those colors together. Another thing that it also factors into is if you're trying to suspend like glitter or other things in your resin out, like really heavy things, there's just no way. You'd have to like suspend it or do a multiple pour for like a really heavy thing. But for glitters, sometimes they can sink, sometimes they can float. And so by waiting till the end of the working time, you can kind of lock those things in. Now, the other thing about waiting till the end of the working time, one, your colors aren't going to necessarily bleed, but the other thing is if you're waiting till, you know, only a few minutes away from when the resin literally turns solid, then it's obviously locked in. So that's kind of another advantage of waiting till the end. That really has to do with, well, what that's going to do is your stuff, the colors or your glitter or whatever, it can't really move around in the mold at that point. It's going to kind of lock it in as that resin starts, you know, thickening and hardening up. So just wanted to kind of cover that. All this is an infrared thermometer. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them at like Harbor Freight usually, probably at like hardware stores, you know, Home Depot and all those types of things. Amazon's a good place to get them. They got lots of different ones for pretty cheap. But I just wanted to kind of cover that. That's what the thing is. And if all you're doing is adding a little bit of dye, you know, like a transparent, like it's a one color pour with just a little bit of transparent dye, or even a solid color dye, you don't need to wait for anything to happen, like for any temperature or anything like that. It doesn't have to do with like when you pour resin. It's just trying to keep colors from mixing together. So it's useful on multiple color pours. It is a little bit useful on mica powders. Even if you only had one color of mica powder, what ends up happening is, I feel like, at least, if you're just pouring one color of mica, it can look, if you just mix it in and then pour it right away, there's a lot of time for the particles to kind of settle out, and what ends up happening is I find that they flatten, and so you have just this kind of bland, mix of the mica color. What you can do is if you wait a little bit till that about the same time, that you would wait for to mix colors together, the resin is going to be a little bit thicker, and it's not, the particles of mica are not going to be able to move around and like kind of settle a little bit. They don't necessarily sink to the bottom, but they just might settle out and all face the same direction, I think is what, I don't know for sure, but I think the physics of what's happening is they can all end up kind of sitting the same direction, and you don't get as much, I don't know how to explain it. It just doesn't look as good. So what you can do is you can kind of wait till the end of the working time, similar to mixing colors. Again, this is for just like one, if you were just doing one color with a mica, and then kind of pour it, and you can even kind of like add a little bit of a swirl, and you get more interest. Let's say it's more interesting because I think the particles are kind of at different angles, and you can add a little bit of I don't know, like I said, like interest to that mica powder if you wait, give it a little bit of a swirl, or just kind of pour it around in a funky way. It's just not going to settle out and just be like one uniform kind of looking color. So just another little random tip with that stuff. So let's see, who was here first? According to my thing, Mike McEwen was here first. That's cool. We got lots of people. Kim and Brian's here, and the other Brian. Old Man Rivers here. Nice. And I saw Mark and Jim. Let's see, am I missing anybody? Robert Carr, CJ. Sweet. And Jennifer's here too. Cool. Wurzel the Wood Butcher, nice. If I missed you, I apologize. A beer? No, it's cool. You have to go buy a dump gun. Yeah, it's funny because I use time, and as long as you're extremely consistent with the way that you do things, you could use time, and it worked okay for me. But I did things exactly the same, as close to, like, I'm talking the same amount of time that I stir, like almost I would kind of count, how fast I was doing everything. And so you'd have to pour it, get started with mixing, and do things extremely consistently. But the thing is, you get distracted, you forgot, oh, I need another cup, or, that throws off your timing a lot if you're not stirring it all up right away. And so it's not a great way to go with the timing thing. And a lot of people started using the temperature, and that was just definitely the most consistent way to do multiple, colors, or, whatever you're trying to accomplish. I think the first person I saw using that was actually, oh shoot. Oh God, I can't even think of his name. It just totally left my brain. Anyway, it was a while ago, and I was like, oh, I don't know about this temperature thing. And then I finally started using it, and I was like, oh, that's way more consistent. But like I said, the one thing about the temperature, because people always say, oh, what temperature do I need to pour at? And it depends on what resin, number one, you're using. All of them are different, especially when you start getting into like the like epoxies that have like a 30 or 40 minute working time. I don't know, you have to wait so long, and I have no clue what the temperature, is. If you can find somebody that does work with that same resin that you're using, they may know, so you can kind of ask them. But the other thing is it heavily depends, for me, I feel that the ambient temperature in your shop is going to change. If your ambient temperature in the shop changes, you're going to have to kind of adjust those temperature numbers to get like the same exact results. Now, one thing that I will say for alumilite clear and clear slow, so again, the urethanes that are like the 12-minute version is the slow, or the 5 to 7 minute is the just regular alumilite clear. For those, generally, if you stay above 95, you're usually pretty good with keeping colors separated for the most part. There's also lots of caveats to that. One big one, if you're pouring pipes, especially like pen blanks is one thing, but when you start getting into wider diameter pipes and taller pipes, you can get a lot. The thing is, there's a lot more room for the resin to move around. And so you might have to adjust for doing deeper pours. You may have to make it, you know, a higher temperature. Like basically it's thicker before you start pouring it. And even it's just really difficult to pour into, like, especially when you get into like a 4-inch PVC pipe or bigger. When you're dumping like into a bucket, the resin just like goes all over the place, and it's really hard to keep colors separated without using something like a stick to pour down so it's not just dumping into the resin. So that's one case where, you know, you may have to kind of adjust things. But when the temperature goes up, I find you need to kind of slightly adjust your starting temperature, because the resin doesn't actually get thinner, you know, at that same temperature. It's not the same viscosity. So at 69 degrees in my shop, at 95, that's probably fine. All right, so when the resin's 95 and it's, you know, 69, 70 degrees in my shop, it's a specific consistency, it's a thickness when I'm pouring it. But when it's 90 degrees in my shop, at 95 degrees for the resin, it's usually much thinner, which means it can kind of move around. There's not as much like friction or whatever, I guess, fluid motion. And so you can get more bleeding because it's just going to move around more. So anyway, that's just a little random thing here. From Belgium, that's really cool. Welcome. Jules is here too, cool. Wow. Yeah, lots of people. And Treasure Maze, nice. Okay, so let's quit talking. Oh, I got a couple of quick announcements. So if you didn't see the pen from last week, man, I am super stoked about this pen. I really think that so for anybody that didn't see what we were doing, I'll just give you the quick rundown. So Turner's Warehouse sent in a couple pictures, but basically we picked a picture. They sent in like this kind of art graphic. And what we were doing was trying to create a pen blank based on this, that you know, is inspired by this. And so here are the pen blanks. And I think we nailed it. I mean, I'm really happy with how well this turned out. We got all the elements in there. It was a really complicated blank to make, but we got all the elements, and then we made a pen out of one of the blanks, and man, I mean, it really, I don't know, it just feels like this picture, you know, it just, so anyway, and Kid Cooper already snagged this. I told you guys he was going to snag this pen. So this will be going out on Monday for you, Brian. Can't wait to get this in your hands. And I really like this kit. This is an Cigar Ultimate, I think is what they call it. And I'd never used one of these kits before, and it's really cool. They have lots of different little patterning stuff on all the little pieces. A little bit souped up cigar kit. But anyway, so that'll be going out. And I wanted to mention, so the way that we're doing the blanks are up for grabs, but I'm doing kind of like a pre-sale type of a deal, where I'm just going to be making as many blanks as orders come in, and then and I'm going to end this probably like this weekend. Like probably in the middle of next week sometime. Taking orders, let's say. So I'm basically just waiting for orders to come in, and I'm going to make as many blanks as orders come in. So we have a few. I had to make do another pour to kind of restock. There's like 3 or 4 in stock right now. It doesn't matter if they're in stock or not, but if you do want to get one of these blanks, because I'm not going to be making these, they're not going in my shop or anything like that. These are kind of a limited deal. If you want to get one, then you need to purchase one this week, the next few days, to claim yours. So here's a link to them on my website. You just basically check out, and I will make as many blanks as I need to cover the orders. And then once I've shut it off, which like I said, I'm going to probably close orders on Wednesday next week. Once that happens, you can't order one. So get your orders in if you want them. And then I also released a blank. Some of you guys probably saw, we made these on the live stream, I think, or I don't know if we made them, but I turned one. I know what I did. I created, this was when I was messing around with, I did a cap for a bespoke pen a while back, and this is the blank that I used. And I finally got these added to my website. Sometimes it takes me, I don't want to just put up blanks if I'm not sure that I can consistently get the same, results when I pour them. So a lot of times I do a lot of testing before I actually release a blank. So these are pretty dialed in, but I'm calling them dark energy. I thought that was a really cool, just reminds me, I know that dark energy is not visible, so it doesn't kind of make sense, but because they are dark and all this kind of cool stuff. These are available. I actually sold out in like the first day for the email folks. So if you want to know when blanks drop, and also the email newsletter folks get discounts on new stuff. So make sure to sign up for my email newsletter on my website. But I got these restocked, so they're up for grabs on my website. And man, just to give you an idea, for anybody that didn't see that pen, I do have a blank that I turned back. And these things are just wicked. I mean, I'm going to say it right now. I really love these blanks. Let me get you an example of what they actually look like turned. They're awesome. I gotta be honest. I'm excited to make another kitless pen out of one of these. But it's like mostly black, but these colors just pop out at you. It looks like neon, kind of reminded me of like a neon sign, or I don't know, charged particles. I was thinking about calling it charged particles for the blank, but that was kind of a long name. I love these. It also reminds me of the Maki-E, the Japanese art form. I had something that it has those vibrant colors on like a black lacquer background. So anyway, these guys are on my website. Really, really happy with these guys. Another thing is actually Turner's Warehouse is also carrying, I want to say, the kitless version of these. I'm not sure. They got one of them. So if I'm sold out for some reason, these are going to be stocked up all the time. But if for some reason I'm out, Turner's Warehouse does carry these now too. One of the versions. I'm not sure if it's the standard or the kitless. Nice. Thanks, Mike. When am I going to... I am not going to be shipping to the UK, unfortunately. Oh, Jim put in an order too. Sweet. Nice. Flagstaff local. Where's that? Oh, nice. I love Flagstaff. When I lived in... No, it doesn't glow in black light or anything. I don't think it does anyway. It's not like a fluorescent coloring, so I don't think it does that. But in daylight, it kind of glows at you. But when I lived in Vegas, in the summers, we would just get so sick and tired of the heat, like around August, that we would be like, we're going to Flagstaff. And we'd take a long weekend and stay there. Flagstaff's fun. We liked the observatory up there. That was pretty cool. And just, it's such a nice town. It also reminded us, because both my wife and I are from, up here in Nevada, like Tahoe area. So it kind of reminded us of that. Yeah, fluorescent would be cool, but the problem is the fluorescent dyes wouldn't give you that effect in these blanks. So I don't know that it would be as cool. The other problem with like glow in the dark and like black light stuff is how often are you in those environments? That's one of the problems with some of the kind of gimmicky things like that. Like, do you use a pen in the dark? It's kind of a tough one, So let's see here. All right, so is there anything else that I need to mention? No, let's start doing some casting. I'll shut up. I will be quiet now. All right, so first things first, we're going to get some PVC. Let's see, we're doing stoppers. So this will probably be a little bit, you can do it where, like stoppers are easy. You can do it in like a taller PVC pipe. So like I could use something like this and then cut them. But I think in this case, what we're going to do, and what I want to do is a couple different versions. So we're going to do like 3 of one way and 3 of something, like a different look. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to pull out some shorter PVC pipes. because the way that I'm going to do this, we're going to basically pour the resin in, and then we're going to just kind of shove some of the shavings in. So just for anybody that didn't see the beginning, we have these shavings that we cut out of another blank. And so all I want to do is just kind of place them in there. Now I'm not going to put a bunch of color. These are going to be pretty much clear. We want to show off the shavings. We want to see those shavings. We might add like a wisp of color or something like that. But I think on the first round, all we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of the micro starlight glitter, just to add a little bit of bling, and it's going to be pretty much clear. All right, and then we're going to put some shavings in there and see how that looks. But like I was saying, you could do something with like a taller PVC pipe and then cut a bunch out. But I think in this case, since we're pushing it down in, it'll just be like honestly a little bit easier just to kind of use shorter ones and make like a single, we'll do 3 singles and then 3 more singles. So I think that'll be a little bit easier, but you could do it either way. The thing is, if you are going to be adding like color and all that stuff, I think we're probably better off, I don't know. The biggest thing is these shavings are kind of fragile, let's say. And so if you just shove them in the mold first and then dumped resin on them, they could just kind of all end up on the bottom of the of the mold, being compressed a little bit by the resin. So I don't know, maybe we'll try one of the 3 by preloading it and just kind of see what happens. In fact, let's do a taller pipe, so that way you guys can kind of see. And I don't know for sure, how all this is going to work. We'll do one where we kind of load it up with a bunch of shavings and then dump resin in and just kind of see. But the other 2 we'll just use kind of the shorter pipes. That way we get a couple different looks, and you guys know, a lot of the reason that I do these live streams is I would do this on my own anyway. A lot of this type of stuff, maybe not stoppers. I'm not like super that enthused about making stoppers and handles and all that kind of stuff. I'm more of a pen blank guy, but I like to experiment with resin and see, like that question. Okay, so how's this going to actually react if I shove a bunch of shavings in this thing and then dump resin on it? Is it just all going to kind of collapse to the bottom? I would be doing things like this on my own anyway. So, a lot of the experimentation, the idea of experimenting, if I'm going to be doing this alone in my shop, why not just turn the cameras on and invite you guys? That way you don't have to go through the same like failures. A lot of times I like to say that failing in resin casting is a good thing. I don't necessarily think that you need to not fail. I think it does help you. You really learn lessons and move forward a little bit quicker when you have run into problems and kind of have to figure out, what happened there, why did that happen. However, stupid things like, should I stick the shavings in the mold first and see, things, that's something that you don't need to fail at. That's just like information that's much better to know up front, so you don't, have to waste resin on something like that. So hopefully it'll save you guys from wasting resin. I like to save some money and some time. But like I said, certain lessons, failing, that glove didn't want to work. Failing does help. I think that some of the biggest breakthroughs or leaps in experience for me have come from failing. Like learning what not to do is oftentimes, when everything goes perfect, you don't necessarily learn a lot from that. You're just like, okay, well, I guess that worked. But next time you may feel like you did the same exact steps and it didn't work out the same way. So I'd rather just find out what didn't work. That way you don't do that thing. So first thing we need to do is we're going to spray these. I'm just going to go back. I don't have a camera up behind here, but I'm just going to use the Stoner mold release. And so the purple one, this Stoner urethane mold release, this is what you want to use for alumilite clear. That's a urethane resin, so make sure you're using this one. There are other brands. Frankly, this one seems to work for me fine with epoxies, at least the ones that I've used also. So I just use this, but there are some other ones out there. If you're using a resin brand and they have on their website a specific mold release, then I would probably recommend just going with whatever the you know, your brand actually has available, because it should work with it, you know. Most of them do work, but I have actually heard from people that have issues with these pipes where things stick, and it seems like they were using a mold release that for some reason didn't really work. I don't know. I've never really, unless I don't spray it, I've never really had too much of a problem with blanks, with blanks sticking in the PVC pipes. Commercial break, oh my God. I know, I get lonely. Like I said, it's nicer to share information. I don't know. When I got started with this stuff, people were like super tight-lipped about like anything. It's like they had invented a cure for cancer, and they're like, I'm not going to tell anybody how this works. And it was kind of a little bit nuts. Like people were just not particularly willing to help people out who were getting into it. And, you know, part of it is because some of these people kind of had corners on the market of blanks. Like they were the people that made the blanks, and they're not going to share their business secrets, I guess. But I don't know. I was like, whatever. So I basically, for the most part, there was a few people that helped here and there, but I'm not the type, nobody was like freely giving that away. And I didn't really feel like I wanted to contact people and ask, because it just seemed like most people didn't want to share anyway. So I said, I'm just going to figure it out on my own. I'm going to waste a bunch of money and resin and time, and, you know, whatever doesn't work, I'm not going to do anymore. What does work, you know, hopefully I'll figure it out and be able to do it consistently. And so I thought, there's really no information out there, and, you know, YouTube and all that kind of online stuff was just starting up. So I'm like, this would be good to share on a YouTube channel. Why not? You know? Yeah, it is cool. Like the glow in the dark thing. So Jules was saying that she made a glow in the. I'm not saying they're not cool. It's just like you got to turn the light. It doesn't work. Like I'm like kind of a utilitarian person. And so like you have to go through this whole hoopla just to make the thing glow. But then, you know, like as a pen, generally you're not writing in the dark. So it's a mental thing with me, with a lot of those things. Yeah, I've run out of ideas, I know. Well, it is kind of cool. I may not run totally out of ideas, but I'll tell you what I do end up doing is I'm going to do things a certain way, because I'm just, you know, my brain's wired a certain way. And so it is pretty fun to involve, you know, more people to throw out ideas. And, you know, unfortunately, I don't see them sometimes, but, you know, I'm not paying attention to the chat. But it is nice to kind of get different ideas, because sometimes I would just do kind of, you fall into the same types of things that you do, I think. And so it's nice to have kind of more people also. So definitely fun to have more people. Okay, so I got my pipes sprayed, and I got links to, you can get PVC pipes, clear or white. So you can get the white ones down, like, you know, at Home Depot or wherever. It's much harder to find clear ones. You're probably not going to find clear ones locally. Maybe in some places, especially like bigger population areas, maybe if you have like I don't even know where you'd get it. I've never seen clear PVC pipes at a store anywhere. I've always bought them online, but you don't have to worry, because Turner's Warehouse sells both at this point in many different sizes. And then they also sell these plugs. These things are the greatest things on the planet. These little plugs. So I got those linked down in the description of this video. These things, I used to use tapered. The only thing you could find was tapered silicone plugs. And they worked fine for pen blanks for 3/4 inch PVC pipes. But once you started getting to like a 1.5 inch, they would come out of the pipes sometimes. Like they wouldn't stay stuck. Like I'd have to tape them, and it was just a pain. These things stay put, they fit perfectly, and they even have a little centering doohickey thing, little nipple thing. So they're pretty cool. And that's where you get them, Turner's Warehouse. So you can get all your PVC pipe mold needs and everything else you ever needed. at Turner's Warehouse. Okay, so we got our pipes. I'm going to switch to the overhead view real quick. I'm going to check the chat, see what you guys are talking about here. Let's see. I think I saw someone was from New Zealand. Kevin, nice. That's cool. New Zealand was a really good, we got to, I've been there once. We went to Auckland. New Zealand was cool. We went to Australia too. I wish we had more time because we had to choose like we decided to just, instead of being like traveling all over the place and barely seeing anything, you know, like stopping for like half an hour, half a day here and there, we decided just to go to the Cairns and go to the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. That was amazing. And then we chose Auckland, which Auckland was cool, but it was kind of, I wish we would have gone somewhere different in New Zealand. Just it was kind of like, it felt like we were just going to visit like San Francisco. It felt very similar to a lot of places that I've been. And I would have rather seen more of the countryside. I snowboard, so it would have been even better to go to the south end. Yeah, potpourri, it stinks. We've done that. We did a potpourri. What did we do? We did it for Turner's Warehouse, and it stunk terribly. I didn't like the smell, and that stuff was super abrasive. So I've done it before. It wasn't super amazing for me. Yeah, well, I like to be, you know, I'm open with most 90% of stuff. Like, I'm not going to share, like, I've had people ask me for my like dye recipes for team colors and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, no. That took me months, years to figure out. I'm not, and the other thing is I just don't, you know, you can get your own colors. Like, it's, you know, that's part of the fun, you know. Stealing my colors for certain things is not the way to go. So I don't share like recipes and things like that. Now, if I do it on a lot of people get confused because they're like, well, you did it on the live stream, and I'm totally cool with whatever I do on the live stream. Have at it, you know, use it, copy it, do whatever you want to do. It's public, but not the other ones that I don't share, you know. You got to keep a couple secrets. All right, so we're going to preload this tall one with some shavings. Let's just kind of dump this out. We got lots of different colors here. So what I want to do is, like I said, these things can be kind of a little bit delicate. So the other thing is we're also kind of trying to shove these things. They're like kind of curly. So we want to kind of be a little bit careful. Try and keep them somewhat intact. So we'll do a little bit of that purple down in the bottom. We'll do some of this at the top. These thicker shavings might not, they might work pretty well doing it this way. I think possibly in the past, like these thinner ones, I don't know, like these would probably, they're if you just loaded a pipe with these thin kind of things, they're probably just going to compact. Like these ones might stay up, and I'm going to pour it kind of carefully, but we're going to push the shavings down in after we fill on these two and just kind of see what the difference is. All right, so like I said, on this first round, we're just going to go with some micro starlight and clear resin. Let's not overdo it. You know, I think this is going to be cool enough if it remains intact. And like I was saying at the beginning, one of the issues that I've had is some of the lighter colors and stuff in shavings just disappear. Like it just goes away in the clear resin. And so I'm hoping that as long as we pretty much kind of have some of these colors stay fine, and it basically kind of looks like this, it'll be cool. And so we're just going to add a little bit of the micro starlight glitter. This stuff's available on my website. I love this. I mean, you could literally stick this in like anything that's clear, and it's just going to add some excitement, or like kind of translucent. Another thing is if you add dye color, sometimes that can affect things. Trying to think of a specific like if we just add a little bit of like a transparent blue dye or something like that could make certain colors go away. I don't know. So we're just going to go with clear with some of this micro starlight for this first round. Let me get my little book out. So always take notes. on every single pour and try to take as good a notes as possible. And we all try to do that. I'm usually pretty good about things, but even I, kind of don't take the best notes on the planet. And then I go back if you have to go back like a year later and like try and recreate it and your notes suck, you're going to be like, I guess I'm starting from scratch or whatever. So, all right. So today is 10/14. And we're doing recasting shavings. All right, so number one, we're doing clear plus micro. I call this the micro starlight. I also have a starlight glitter. We could probably do both. Let's do a little bit of both, because the starlight's cool too, and I don't pull the starlight out as much, but it's like chunkier glitter. Pretty cool stuff. I really enjoy messing with these two specifically, so that's why I sell it, because I wanted to buy it in bulk, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to go through all this glitter, so I may as well just buy enough to also sell some. All right, so I think that I want to mix up about 200 grams for this one, and then probably just about another 200, so 400 total. And then again, we're using alumilite clear slow. That's a 1-to-1 mix ratio. So 200 times 2. And then we're going to add, you don't need to add a lot of this glitter stuff. That's one of the nice things, especially for just like clear. The micro starlight, you can just add a little kind of, little scoop. And it's going to be plenty. Just to add a little bit of extra kind of blinginess. Okay, so we got our notes. 400 grams. We're going to need to get a fairly large mixing cup out here. Let's see here. Ooh, glow-in-the-dark key rings. Now that's pretty cool. I like that. When you left them in the workshop door, that's funny. Yep. My recipes. Oh, I got a couple like cooking recipes. Yeah, Queenstown. Actually, yeah, I know. I wanted. Well, one of the cool things about, and I don't think a lot of people really think. I really didn't think about this until we took that trip. The seasons. I don't know. Like I said, I just never thought about this, and so if you haven't also thought about this, it might be kind of mind-boggling, because in the northern hemisphere, the summer is hot, right? And at that same time, so like, in August, down on the southern hemisphere, it's the opposite temperature. Like the seasons are opposite, and so it's kind of nuts. So the cool thing is, if you snowboard, ski, whatever, you can ski in the winter in the northern hemisphere, and then in the summer you can go down to the southern hemisphere and also ski or snowboard. So sometime I want to do that, because I do snowboard, and I think it'd be really cool, just the idea of, I'm just going to go snowboarding in the summer. I think it'd be fun. I follow it. There's a channel, a YouTube channel, David Jones. He's in New Zealand, and he's a snowboarder, and let's see, what is the Cardrona, I think, is the ski resort that he's always at. Cardrona. And it looks kind of cool. Only issue is I'm not a park guy. I always tell people, if I'm if I'm in the air, something probably went wrong. I kind of stay glued to the ground. Although I have been kind of branching out. The only time I'm going to jump is if we're like in deep powder and there's no consequences. If I crash. I've done a little bit of jumping here and there. But not like park. Then no thanks. You're landing on like hard ground. And I'm just not that good. But that's kind of a park heavy area it looked like. I like trees and kind of like, I really like backcountry stuff. That's really fun. But I like the kind of out of bounds areas. Because I always say when you're on runs, on the groomed runs, people are out of control. Trees stay put. People are always like, oh, but you might run into trees. And I'm like, yeah, but they don't move. No clue where these, people come speeding by you on the runs. And the other thing is the people that are out in the trees generally are not terrible skiers or snowboarders. Like they're usually, goodish. Not newbies that don't know what they're doing out of control. So I kind of like those areas. The other thing, with New Zealand, when we were looking at that, we were contemplating going out because that's where the Lord of the Rings, I think if I'm not, it's been a while now, but I think like kind of in the central New Zealand area, kind of out in the, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know for sure, but we were going to try and maybe go into and see some of those kind of, nature kind of areas around where the Lord of the Rings stuff was filmed. I kind of thought about going like way south and getting like a real, like where it's like really cold. One of the other issues with that trip, like I said, we really enjoyed the Great Barrier Reef. And so we went there first. And I think that was part of the issue with New Zealand wasn't as fun for us because I think the problem was we went to like this like tropical area first. Then we went to kind of like a cooler, rainy place, and that's where we ended. And I think if we would have gone to New Zealand first, I think we would have enjoyed that more, and then ended on kind of warmer temperatures, tropical-y kind of. I think that would have been a better way to do that trip. I think it would have been even cooler to go like somewhere snowy and then go to the Great Barrier Reef. That would have been cool. Get like complete opposite temperature zones. Now, generally with these two glitters, at the beginning we were talking about temperature guns and glitters and timing and all that stuff. And really, I don't think that the micro starlight definitely doesn't move around at all. Starlight maybe could if you poured it right away, but it doesn't really sink or float really. So just to let you know, these two are pretty good about that kind of stuff. Some other glitters are less good about that kind of stuff, and they can definitely float. So I'm not doing much. It's just like a little scoop of the starlight, and then a little scoop, not that much, of the micro, and then we'll stir that in. So if that's what you're going to be using this stuff for, these jars, and this is the size that they come in, they'll last you for a long time if you're just adding a little bit of bling to some clear. One of the other blanks that I like to do is the deep space, which is actually one of the colors in those alien blanks. I like to call this one deep space, and so I actually have a couple caps. I was just playing around. I'm going to be adding these to my website, but this is a super easy one to make. And so you get like this, like I said, to me it looks like deep space, like stars. And all it is you just add black dye and then toss in micro starlight. But in this case, you're going to want to add, more than just a little tiny scoop. You might have to kind of play around with how much you actually see. But you can adjust how much of the dye you're putting in compared to how much of the glitter. But I really love that. It just gives you this kind of spacey look. Or I always tend to like lean towards like the space things. But I mean, it's just kind of a cool, elegant looking cap with some bling glitters in there. So that's a simple one to make. A little bit of black dye, a little bit of micro starlight, but again, in that case, you're going to add more of the glitter. I'm just going to pour about, three quarters of the way in these two. Not really worried that it's like too much resin. We're not adding that much with the shavings. It's just, it might kind of push it around a little bit. Let's grab some of these guys. I'm just gonna, like I said, just kind of push these guys down in. I might need a little stick here to kind of, oh, it is kind of sinking. But I want to keep like the curls and all the, the ribbon intact. That's what I'm trying to go for. Oh, these might be kind of cool. There's that. I'll add a little bit of this stuff. I don't want that little tiny strand. Add a little bit of that in there. And then I'm going to top it off with some of this. And then I'll just kind of top the resin off here. Not too bad, not too bad. So we did that one. Got that one done. Get my stick out of this thing here. Let me kind of stick that there. Okay, so let's go for, I'm going to break these a little bit. Go for some smaller chunks. That's pretty thin. Push that down in there. Need a place to stick there. I don't want to, I don't think these things are gonna, I think we'll be all right pouring over these because they're kind of rigid. I don't really want to compact or anything. Get in there. I really push them. Okay, and then we'll top this guy off. All right, so we got our small ones ready to rock, and then on this one, I'm going to kind of push these guys down in. I don't think they're really going to compact, so we're going to add a little bit more and kind of squish it. These are really thin. I don't want those. Okay, and then just dump. Now, the one thing about doing this where you're dumping it and they're all kind of folded, you do run the risk of having areas where the resin can't really get, like, so basically having little gaps. There is a possibility of that, especially the more that you like really kind of compact these shavings down in here. So it might be kind of helpful to kind of twist this. You can see bubbles kind of, don't pour it to the top, pour about half. But you can, I don't know if you guys can see, but there's like, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. There's like bubbles. Well, I kind of got most of them, but there's bubbles kind of floating up. There's one. And just kind of, you can tap it if you want, but like big chunky bubbles, you want to make sure that you're trying to get those out of there. So you can just kind of, like I said, add a little bit of resin, twirl it around. And you want to kind of pour a somewhat thin stream. And I'm going to do that one more time after I poured that, just to kind of just make sure you're not dumping it out. You just want to try and make sure that you're getting resin into all the areas. Okay, and I think we're good. We can just top this guy off here. I calculated that pretty good. All right, and there you have it. Pretty simple. I would try and show you these things, but I don't have a camera facing sideways right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a bucket. Let's see here. I think this one will, it's good to have like different sized buckets hanging around. I think these will fit in here. That way they don't tip over or anything when they're in the pressure pot. There we go. And I think we'll go over on this side here. Let's put this camera up. I'm going to put it in here. We got the first round done. So those are clear. Just a little bit of glitter. On the next one, I want to try to add a little bit of color. The shavings should already have, you know, they're kind of the focus with the colors, but we could add a little bit of something, I think. Just little wisps. It's kind of what I'm thinking. So we'll add a little bit of color on this next round and see how that goes. I think we can use the taller pipes. I don't think that's a big deal. Like I said, some shavings that are like really thin and you know, light, they can end up just compacting and ending up at the bottom, whereas these ones are pretty stout. I mean, they don't really compress too much. They're like a thicker shaving. So I think we'll be all right. I think we can preload the pipes. Let's see here. Yeah, just using the resin shape. It should be kind of fun. So we'll do another one. Like I said, we'll do another round. I'm going to clean off my mixing stick so we can reuse it. And this guy too. Just get that stuff off of there. I'm going to keep that for my... I'm also going to get these guys. You got drippies. You don't want no drippies. I think I had something over here too. Yeah. I always end up sticking my hands in those types of things. All right, so I like these thicker shavings, I think, the best. These ones are okay, but like I said, they're kind of these little wispy things, and I think they're just going to get lost. So I'm not going to really focus on that. And we did some on the first round, so that's good enough. Get some more pipes going here. Let me get another cup ready. Oh, that one broke. Totally broke that one. That's the first time. These cups have been working pretty good, actually. These like to-go cups on Amazon. Got this tip from Elise over at Starry Night Resins. These ones work pretty good. Although it's not, this isn't a very good example. Usually they just pop right out. There we go. So that's pretty good. They clean up a little bit, seem to clean up a little easier than like your quart mixing cups. A little bit more expensive, but it really kind of just depends on how many you're really going to buy. That's the big thing. Okay, so we'll zero that out. I need to get my pipes ready, so we're going to go and let's see here. This time we're going to go, I'm just going to do two. I've got two more clear ones, and that'll get me as many stoppers as I need. We'll just do 2. I'm going to preload, or I'm going to go over and spray these guys again with the mold release off camera. Kind of zoomed in here. Let's go right there. So let's get these sprayed, get the plugs in them. Another thing that I found with resin sticking in PVC pipes or whatever, the first time you use a PVC pipe, they generally are a little bit stickier, so I try to really give it a good coating on that first round. As long as you're kind of using them fairly regularly, the mold release kind of stays. It's not like it really goes anywhere. It's still kind of coated, so I usually don't find that you really need to do like super coat them necessarily. The other thing I also find is the bigger the pipe, it usually demolds a little bit easier. I don't know. I think it's because the resin shrinks a little bit more on the larger the blank is. I don't know. Sometimes you may need to use like a dowel or a little bit of help to get it out of there, but it shouldn't just be stuck. Okay, so we're going to preload both of these guys. I think that worked okay. That's kind of cool looking. I think we can add a little bit more. That's pretty good. Pop that down in there. And again, these ribbons were cut out of a Happy Fun cup, which is like leftover resin cup. We got all kinds of different colors going on. Kind of cool. Okay, I think that's good. Okay. Now 200, and then this one's probably a little bit higher, so like maybe like 230, so 430 total. And so again, I want to do something a little different on this one. Let's add a little bit of color. I don't know how this is going to go exactly, but mainly we're going to go with clear because again, the color is kind of supposedly in the ribbons. But let's add just some drips of, I'm not sure what color. Thinking maybe like a silver or white could be interesting. That might give a little bit of, I think white might not be a bad idea. I don't know. Do you guys have any ideas for what I was thinking is literally just some very small amounts of color. And so what I'll be doing is I'll be pouring most of, clear, but then we'll have like a little bit where we just kind of dump a little bit of color in, and then we're going to kind of go back and forth with that. But I'm trying to go for like kind of thinner amounts of that color. It's going to be a very small amount, just a kind of a, I don't know, secondary little kind of complementary color. Yeah, pearl could be good, like a white pearl. We could go with the blue to purple color shift. That might be kind of interesting, maybe. Although it doesn't really have a really dark backdrop, so I don't know if that's going to be as amazing as It could be. Same thing with interference colors. Black could be interesting. That would be a little bit more of a change. There are some black colors in some of these ribbons though. The thing is, you know, like it looks like there's white. So I just want to make sure everyone knows all these areas that are white are probably just going to disappear. They're not going to show up as white like it looks like right now. They're going to kind of fade into the into the clear resin. So white, I think, actually might be an interesting contrast. Gold, yeah. Pulling open the drawer here. Gold could be cool. Yeah, I kind of like the gold. You know what we could do? Mike McEwen is going to be excited about this idea. What do you guys think about going with 14 karat nugget? This is the kind of glittery gold. I think that could be cool. You could have little chunks of glittery gold hanging around in there. I actually finally, this was a tough one. This one's been hard for me to figure out how to use properly. It seems like, you know, we were talking about the temperature thing. Like if you pour this stuff too early, it just kind of dissipates and like all the gold just kind of mixes with everything else. So I might maybe kind of want to wait. This may not work as well as I would like it to, but a good way to go with this is like darker colors with this and have just little kind of chunks, depending on what kind of blank you're talking about. Just have little chunks of like goldy glitter stuff with like a dark, like black or you know, darker purple or something like that, where it's not see-through and it's not like a vibrant color, it's like darker. That's a pretty good way to use this stuff, where you have little chunks of these little glitter granules. Yahoo! Now let's go with that. I don't know. Let's see how this works. Bare minimum, even if it doesn't work the way that I'd like it to, where we kind of have like chunks, because the thing is, we're going to be dumping this down. It's going to kind of dissipate. That's one thing that I found. You know, like if you take a tube and put pine cones in it, you can't just pour blue or, you know, whatever, some specific color and have it be, you know, here. It's going to kind of drip and do all this stuff. But what I'm hoping is that even if it kind of drips around and does stuff, we'll still have little chunks of this glitter, the gold, kind of just painting little zones here and there. So we'll put away our starlights. Go with a little bit of gold glitter on this one. That ought to be fun. Is there anything else that we could do to this? We could do like a mix of let's do like a little bit of a mix. It's not going to be very much of this. Let's do a white as well and just kind of see. Let's do white on one and gold on the other. That way we can actually get an idea of what do these things look like. Because if you mix both of them, that could kind of screw things up. So we're doing 430, 215 times 2. On one, we're doing 14 karat nugget. And I'm just going to break out, let's see. So let's do the shorter tube, which is about 200 grams. I really only want to do about 20%. So like an 80-20. Like 40 grams and 160. So 160 is going to be clear. 40 grams is going to be 14 karat nugget. And we're going to load up 40 grams. We're going to put like a half teaspoon. Let's start with a half teaspoon and see where we go. And then for number 2, same thing. We're going to do 160 and then we're going to do 40. We'll add a little bit of pearl to the white as well, but I'm also going to add white dye, which is heavy. So we're going to do clear and then white. So we'll do I want to make it heavy, so let's add a gram. Is that going to work? Yeah. We're going to add half a gram of dye plus, I'll try like a quarter teaspoon of micro pearl, or yeah, micro pearl. Okay, so we got the plan. Tim's here. What's up, man? Got the plan here. So we've zeroed our scale out. Let's get these things out of the way so I don't knock them over. We need 215 grams of part A. Close enough. And you might have noticed that I put more part B in, and so this only goes for this resin, alumilite clear slow. I add a little extra part B just to help kind of keep it clear. Seems to work. Definitely doesn't harm anything when you're doing clear, but you know, you don't want to do this with like epoxies or any other resin, basically. But it does seem to somewhat help keep things nice and like the clarity of everything good to go with alumilite clear slow. So again, not amazing clear cast, not epoxy, not any of those other things. Specifically alumilite clear slow. Otherwise, follow the manufacturer's recommended guidelines. Okay, now we need a couple little cups, 40 grams and 40 grams. So I got these little tiny cups. It's good to have lots of different cups. Yeah. Oh, I went a little over. That's okay. 44, close enough. Doesn't have to be totally perfect, especially in this case. Now, if you're putting together like some recipe, dye recipe that needs to have very specific amounts of resin and dyes included in them, then you really need to be kind of spot on with all these measurements. Okay, we got 40. So we're going to add, this is going to be the white. We're going to add half a gram. I'm going to shake up the white. Now the shavings were from the Happy Fun cup that we turned. I drilled out the center of it. And that's where they came from. I think I was using like a 1.5 inch Forstner bit. So they're pretty big. That's a good way. Like if you really want some shavings, like I said, you could engineer a blank. If you wanted to waste some resin, you can you know, pour a blank and then just drill it using one of those Forstner bits, like a pretty big size Forstner bit, and you'll get these really thick shavings that way. Much bigger than if you were just using like a twist drill bit. And then what I want to do is add a little bit of micro pearl. I like the Pearl X micro pearl. But you could also use, what is the other one from eye candy? Shide? Shide? Shide, I think it's called. They have the weirdest names. They're not weird. They're just Japanese, I think, but these are all ghosts. What is it called? Did I get rid of it? Huh. Anyway, that's what it's called from them. But I like the micro pearl. It's a little bit different. So we're going to add a half teaspoon. Do we need a half teaspoon? Let's try a quarter teaspoon. Frankly, let's try an eighth teaspoon. I think I'm way over. I'm a little overzealous on my micro pearl there. So we're going to go with an eighth. I think that's going to be plenty. I got to go back and adjust my. Oh, I said a quarter. Half teaspoon of the gold nugget. But I think an eighth teaspoon is going to be plenty for this. This stuff's like powdered sugar, the micro pearl, but it does a good job of giving you kind of that like mother of pearl look with white. And you can add a little bit of dye. The dye is going to take away some of the pearlescence, but it's still going to be pearly. Like it makes it look, to me it gives it kind of, and I would have probably used less if I was really going for like a pearl look, but it kind of looks like pearl earrings, like just pearl. So, I like that micro pearl. Let's see here, and then we got our gold nugget. And said we were going to go with a half teaspoon of that. And then we'll see. We really want to load that stuff up. You can really load. I mean, we could maybe put a teaspoon of this stuff in. There's a half. Let's see what this kind of looks like. In this case, we want to kind of wait a little bit for the resin to kind of thicken up a little bit. Not too much, but, and this is one of those areas where, you know, like when people ask me what temperature do you pour at, it really depends on what you're doing. I think that's probably pretty good. That's pretty dense. I think that's good. Half teaspoon. You know, in this case, we got a bunch of areas where the resin kind of needs to be able to flow in and around these shavings. And so you don't really want to be waiting till it's super thick. So you got to kind of play a balancing game with you know, how thick is it when you pour it and all that kind of stuff. I have a feeling we're probably pretty close. I'm going to go for like, oh, maybe not. I'm going to go for like 95. And I'm going to be basing it on this cup. It's the biggest one. These guys are going to be a little bit more on the thinner side of things. If I pour at 90 or 95 from this cup, the smaller cups are probably going to end up being at a lower temperature because there's just less mass to generate the heat. Let's see where these guys are at. This is 82. I think this one's higher than that. Yeah, a couple degrees higher. That'll be fine. It's no big deal. All right, so let's see here. We already did the starlight. We did that on the first round. Well, if you're drilling, you know, it depends on what size Forstner bit you're going to use. If you're using a 1.5 inch Forstner bit, then you're going to have a bigger, like a 2-inch blank minimum. But I mean, I even have, let's see, I might have actually used the 2-inch. I mean, I got a pretty big Forstner bit, a couple of them. Offhand, I don't even know what size this is. I think this one's a 2. but the writing is gone. I need to get some new Forstner bits. This one's a carbide Forstner bit, and I think it's like a 2.5. Let's see. Yeah, that's a 2.5, so that's probably a 2. But the Forstner bits, it'll peel off much bigger chunks. And so you got 2 of those Happy Fun cups. So you can do, when you drill out the center, if you're going to make a cup anyway, you'll get those kinds of shavings. Like I said, I'd recommend using a Forstner bit. That'll just save you a ton of time of hollowing. But you got to pick a Forstner, depends on what size the hole, in the end is going to be. So, don't overshoot it. If you're like 89, seems pretty thick. It's kind of crazy. Like I said, the cooler it is in the shop, the thicker the resin starts at. And I mean, frankly, I think I'm just going to start pouring this at 90. Actually, you're right. Let's add a little bit of the micro starlight to this, just so it's not as bland. We'll add a little tiny bit. I mean, you can't go wrong. A little bit of micro starlight. It just adds a little bit of fun to otherwise clear resin. Like I said, you don't need a lot, just a little bit, and it'll add a little bit of blingage going on in there. Beyond your pay grade? Why? What are you talking about? It's easy. It's easy. It's just the only thing you need is a chuck to hold the blank. Some sort of a chuck. You could even just use a glue block. I mean, I guess you could glue block and faceplate. Either way, you're going to go with a glue block. What did I use? I think I cut a mortise. I'm going to start pouring. Honestly, this stuff is thick enough, especially on this first round. So we're at 92. That's close enough. We're going to start pouring some in here. Like I said, thinly. All right, now I got to think about what I'm doing here. So I think the gold was going to be the short one. Doesn't really matter, but let's just try to keep things straight here. All right, so these guys are going to be a little bit on the thinner side, but when you add the mica powder, especially this micro pearl, it kind of thickens up the white a little bit more than if it was just dye. So I'm going to pour some of that in. So there should be little random tendrils of white going on. That's what I'm hoping for. We'll have to see in the end. I don't know, if whatever I have in my brain is really going to come to fruition on some of this. That's why we experiment. Kind of overtaking stuff with the white. We're not getting little. I'm not going to pour any more white because I think it's kind of just. It may just kind of confuse things. So let's slow down on that a little bit. I don't think I want to add more because it is. I think it is bleeding. So let's go with the gold. It's hard when you're pouring over something else, like I said. And I think I'm just going to dump it in one spot here. A lot of it may just be on the outside rim when I'm looking at this pipe. I don't know, like once you turn in, it may just be kind of coating the outside of the blank. I'm just not 100% sure, and I don't want to completely obscure everything with this white. I'm going to kind of let things settle a little bit. Pour some more clear down here. I'm going to kind of alternate. I'm going to pour the gold on one side and I'm going to pour the clear on the other. That might help too, rather than trying to pour it all over the place. All right, so what does this one look like now? Yeah. Problem is, I think we're going to end up with gold everywhere because it is very early that I'm pouring this. I mean, now we're at 102, I guess, so I don't know. Probably get going. I think we're just going to finish off this one. With clear. I could probably get a little bit of white on the top of that. It's not going to go all over the place at this point. Let's add a little bit more gold. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get what I had in mind. I should probably pick this up and kind of move it around. I think we're okay on that. Might have needed, actually, I'm going to need to use the rest of that resin. I want to top these guys off. I'm just going to dump the rest of this gold out. We'll get a couple different looks, see what's happening with these stoppers. And then I think I can add a little bit more white. Let's see here. Yeah, it just kind of looks milky. I don't know. I don't know if that worked too well. That's all we get. That's all we get, folks. So I don't know. There's definitely areas where there's some clear and stuff going on. I don't think these are like terrible, but it's not exactly what I was going for. Now, some of this white might kind of drip down. Might have been a smarter idea to kind of pour mostly clear and then drip the white like at the end because it's heavier. So I don't know. There's always like 50 different ways you can do these types of things. And if one way doesn't really work, then you can always, next time try something a little bit different. So we're going to, again, put it in a cup. I don't know if two, no, not really. I got another size cup here. I'll go with this cup. There, that fits perfectly. We'll get these guys, they're getting a little bit warm, so I'm just going to drop them in the pressure pot real quick. And then the other tough thing about these is, they may not look, it's kind of the same issue with pen blanks, when you're pouring vertical pen blanks. It may not look particularly amazing on the outside, but once you turn into it, things might change radically, It just may look kind of like, I don't know if that's really what I was going for on the outside, but then once you start, especially with like a stopper, you're going to probably, it's not just going to be like a flat, cylinder, most likely. You're going to be kind of adding some curves and different stuff. And that is also a strategy that you can kind of employ. If the blank looks like it may have it looks kind of like boring on the outside, add more like coves or where you can kind of get in and get to different parts of that blank. On stoppers and handles and things like that, add more shape to it, and sometimes it may pull out some of the interesting parts of that blank that otherwise, if it just was like a really kind of straight flat curve, you're just taking a little bit of material off, it may not turn into anything particularly amazing. So we'll have to see. I'm excited. It was kind of hard. It's you know, one of the tough things about like those blanks, it's not like I can, you know, really take a look at what's going on the sides necessarily. Once we pull them out of the, you know, demold them, pull them out of the pressure pot, we'll have a much better idea of what's, you know, what's really kind of going on with those things. But I think it'll be kind of cool. I mean, bare minimum, we got, you know, the white ones, that one is where I'm like, I don't know. It just kind of looked like it all kind of bled with the clear. So that one might be a little bit boring, possibly. However, once you turn into that, even if it's just kind of a milky white, you know, kind of thing, mostly down there in the bottom, once you turn in, there may be pockets where there's clear or where you're pulling shavings out. You know, you're cutting into the shavings and being able to see those where they're more prevalent than just the milky white looking stuff. That could be, you know, that can kind of save you, where, like I said, sometimes once you start turning into something, even if it doesn't look that good on the outside, it may like really kind of amaze you, you know. A lot of, I don't know if you guys listen to the As the Pen Turns podcast. Those are the guys that do, let's see, it's Jason Neal Penworks, Brad over at, what's his thing? Mythic Pen Company, and then Jonathan Brooks. Those three, and they're all, you know, pretty much all, well, totally, all three of them are in the bespoke custom pen making realm. But they always talk about, especially Brad, you know, when you're turning into a blank, pen blank, or any kind of blank, but I don't know how many of you guys that are pen turners notice this, but sometimes, especially certain blanks, you kind of, very small amounts of material being taken off can change radically what the patterning is, the colors and all that stuff in blanks. And so Brad's always talking about chasing colors in blanks. And so that's what you can do, is kind of peel back more of that, you know, those layers to kind of get into the more interesting parts, if there are some kind of hidden in there. Jake, what's up, man? Oh, you're very welcome. I like to share stuff. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Let's see. I'm going to scroll up. I want to make sure I'm not missing any. Ooh, a stir stick holder. That's a really smart idea. Why didn't I do that? I got a couple extra ones kind of laying around. They're not very big though. I made some just using like the I think I might make a different one. I got a couple of these. I don't know why I didn't. I should probably maybe add these. But they're just in like the 16-ounce cups, so they're quite a bit smaller. I don't know where those came from. Maybe I'll use the next one. I'm already working on another one. I might use the next one. Do I have another blank? I had another one. But I might, yeah, that's a good idea. I might do that. Might even make a bigger one. Who knows? YouTube's getting carried away with ads. That's not surprising. Yeah, I like that stir stick idea. That's really cool. Another one actually that, you know, we call it a pencil jar or pencil pot or whatever. Another cool one is actually, and this wouldn't work for like the shavings thing, but you could take it and, you know, shape the outside, but then just drill like holes in it for like individual pens. I've seen a lot of people there's a lot of fountain pen like pen holders that are like that, where it's just a bunch of holes drilled into like a cup basically, and you can put like kind of individual, that way they're not all just like kind of, you know, like this one. If you just cut a giant hole out, they're all just kind of hanging out, you know, they're just kind of sitting there. But you can you know, drill it to a certain depth and do only like, you know, 6 or, you know, whatever, 4, however many holes you want, and you can kind of more show off the pens a little bit better. You could probably even take one of the blanks and just like cut it in half and just have it where it's just kind of holding they don't need to really go down super deep into they don't need to go all the way to the bottom, you know. So that might be kind of a fun thing to do too for pens. I don't know, there's all kinds of things, you know. The ideas are endless when it comes to resin. Real quick, I'm just gonna clean up these stir sticks just so I know that I have done that. And then we'll kind of wrap things up. So like I said, we got the new blanks, the Dark Energy. I love that name. Even though, like I said, it kind of doesn't make sense because it's not like we can see dark energy. Artistic license. We got the Dark Energy blanks. They just dropped this week. And they're available on the website. I'm super stoked about these. They're really fun. So I'm just, for anybody that just joined us and hasn't seen these, I gotta do a little bit of plugging, you know. I love these blanks. We turned many moons ago, like I want to say in like the spring, maybe May, something like that. We actually made a cap on the live stream. I'm pretty sure I did a cap for a custom pen. But this is kind of what you can expect on the insides of these. It's ridiculous. I love these things. So it's just black with some cool bling. We got 2 different sizes. So those are available. There's a link down in the description if you want to grab those. And then the Alien Desert, you know, the blanks that we custom created, let's say, these are available. They're a limited run. I'm going to cut off orders. So they're basically kind of like a pre-order type deal where I'm going to make as many blanks as orders come in. But the orders, being able to order them is going to end next Wednesday. So if you guys want to grab one of these, I'm going to be making more as orders come in. But that's a limited time only. Limited time only. Because they're such a pain to make. That's a 10 color blank. Did you guys know that? Did you know that we did a 10 color pour on that? It's pretty crazy. But if you could see, dark energy, one day we will, hopefully. 12 hole, yeah, that's what I was thinking. That'd be kind of cool. You got the tools. Time to, yeah. You know what's funny is like the hollowing, like jars and things like that, lidded boxes even. Those are a little bit more. There's a little bit more complication with a lidded box, but just like a jar like that, they seem, before you've made one, they seem a little bit intimidating. I gotta be honest. I mean, as long as you can get it chucked up, so you get the stuff done on the backside to be able to grab it with your chuck jaws, I mean, it's simple. It really, and it's fun. Definitely use negative rake carbide tools for doing the hollowing. I think that if you've never done hollowing before, again, make sure you have the negative rakes. There's no catches or any of that junk going on. It is a really fun, just kind of like you can just get kind of lost, you know, making those cuts. It doesn't really matter, especially it's on the inside of a jar. Like it doesn't matter if it's perfect at all, really, you know. So there's like no consequences, and it's just kind of a nice like. Kind of zone out and just do some hollowing. It's pretty fun. You can have fun with the shaping if you wanted to do different types of things, you know, different types of jars. You could make, you know, like a different shape of something and try to like chase, you know, some of the fun stuff with hollowing is if you can kind of keep that, like maintain the same distance if there is like an angle or curves going on. You know, try and work on keeping it the same. It doesn't matter. That's the nice thing, is it doesn't matter if it's perfect, but you can kind of work on that, and it's just kind of relaxing, I think. I don't know. It's pretty fun. I think that once you start doing it, you'll be like, oh, this is easy. So cool. Rebecca's here. Holy cow. What was the holy cow for? Oh, maybe the dark energy ones. I love those blanks. They're really fun. I can't wait. I'm going to make another batch, and I'm gonna steal one for myself and make another pen out of one of those. I made one, actually, pretty sure Brian has one, Kid Cooper. I think he bought that pen that I made with that. I'm pretty sure it's the only pen that custom pen that I've actually kind of sold. I sold it to him for pretty cheap because it was like one of my first. So anyway, guys, that's all I got today. We'll see what these things look like. I got pretty high hopes. Like I said, sometimes when when I'm looking at something while I'm pouring it, I'm like, ugh. So the white one, that's where I'm like, I don't know how that's going to be. But I'm pretty sure the first round, those things are going to be wicked. I think they're going to turn out pretty good. And then I actually was looking at that gold, and there was pockets of clear and gold going on. Again, with the timing on the pouring of the resin, it's a tough one, especially when you're doing something like that. When you're pouring it and it needs to kind of flow in and around things, you don't really want to wait super long. Now, I think I went a little bit way too early on that. I could have waited till 95, maybe even 100, and I think everything would have been fine. But I was kind of doing things slowly. So just kind of know that there's a range, and if you want to kind of help ensure that things kind of get into all the little nooks and crannies of something like pine cone blanks maybe, or stuff like that, you might want to pour a little bit early and kind of give up on, like, okay, maybe there's going to be a little bit of color bleed, a little bit more than normal, but you'll make sure that the resin's thinner and can kind of flow a little bit better. The pressure pot will help stuff kind of move around a little bit. It's not going to push it into an area where there's like a pocket of it can't reach it, those types of things. But pressure does kind of also help in those cases to kind of get it pushed into areas where maybe it didn't flow as well, because it is kind of a little bit forcing it into some of those areas. So just also know that pressure pots help a lot of things. Oh, 10 colors. Yeah, I know. Those, they did. We had lots of colors. I actually added it up because we did, I want to say the green part was 3 different colors itself. We have black, we have the green, and we did a double color where it's like the green, the macaw blue-green plus the beetle blue. So that's a mix. We poured it as one, but it's 2 different colors. And there's tan, there's reddish tan, there's brown. So there's 3 there, 6, 7. How did this work? I added it up. I have the recipe. Let's look at the recipe. 10 colors though. I was like, whoa. 1, 2. Oh, silver up in the top. There's a little bit of silver. Yeah, so that makes 10. 3, 6, 9, 10. Silver was the one. It's a lot. Plus, there's a lot of like things going on. That's why I'm kind of like, these are pretty cool, but like, man, I don't want to have to restock these all the time. I might do more runs down the road. We may bring them back, but like I said, they're only going to be available till next Wednesday, at least for this round of things. We might pull it back, but the thing is, I'd rather just do kind of a short run on those, and then I'm hoping that next month Turner's Warehouse is probably going to send another theme. I'm pretty sure that they're totally down with that. And I'm going to talk to Chad and Amy and see. I think it'd be kind of fun to do it a little bit different. Like we did it with a picture this time. I think next time they're just going to be like, here's this idea, you figure it out. And so from there, what we'll be able to do is you do your own research at that point, right? So it's like an ambiguous theme. You need to go and find, what does this theme mean? What colors exemplify this theme? And so it's really fun creating blanks. On the stream, we will throw a bunch of colors together, and it's kind of cool, but a lot of times we're not necessarily going for any specific theme. We're just kind of throwing stuff together and seeing what looks cool. When you're actually designing a blank, it can get really, really fun. So for all you guys that are doing your own pen blanks and all that stuff, and I think a lot of people do this anyway. You come up with, oh, I want a kind of a snowy theme or something like that. But if you can get other people, especially if you have customers, to kind of give you like, I want to do this, which I don't do a lot of custom orders because it can get ridiculous. Like I will go to like the nth degree trying to get something perfect, do all this research, and it's just, I don't have time to do all that kind of stuff. And especially when you're trying to get like very specific colors matched, that can take a lot of time. But if you got time and you want to get into this stuff, it's fun to do a little bit of research, come up with like an idea, get a color palette together, and then throw a bunch of colors at it. And you may not get it on the first round. Like, I gotta be honest, I'm really surprised at how well that Alien Desert blank came out, because most of the time I'll do something and then I'm like, yeah, okay, that didn't really work perfectly. So then I can make an adjustment on the next round. And unfortunately, you end up spending more time, more resin. It costs a little bit of money, but you can hone things in once you've gotten this first round out. You're like, oh, okay, let's try to adjust it. And I will say, actually, I forgot to mention, I did actually adjust the color recipe for the green. This is the second round. I don't have one of the first blanks, but originally this color mixture, and you can go back and watch the live stream of making this. Originally in the blanks, I just used Olympic Gold, Spring Green, and let's see, what is that it? No, there was 3 colors. And the yellow, Canary Yellow. So I kind of and we bled those together. We poured those really quick. The problem was the Spring Green alone, it was just way too green for this picture. It really just was much more green than you see in this picture, even in the green areas. And so what I ended up doing is I went back, and instead of just putting Spring Green in, this is actually a good kind of little tip. What I did was I actually mixed Spring Green with Canary Yellow separately. So there's Canary Yellow, Olympic Gold in this, and then there's a mixture of micas that's Spring Green plus Canary Yellow. And what that's doing is bringing it more in line. It's still green, but it's not as like bright green. It's a little bit, more muted, a little bit more in the yellow spectrum. So I did change that on the second round just to make it a little bit better. It didn't make a huge significant difference or anything like that, but the greens kind of popped out, especially you can see I think it's even in this pen. Yeah, here we go. I don't know if this camera is going to really pick this up. Yeah, okay, so you see that green in the tip? I mean, there's not, again, I'm literally splitting hairs here, but it's a little too green for my liking. That picture does not have that kind of a green in it. And I was like, okay, that's probably a very simple fix. And so I've just kind of toned down that green just a little bit, just to match that picture a little bit better. And this is the minutia that my brain deals with. You can be as OCD as you like with these things. So anyway, guys, I hope that you had fun watching this. Like I said, I'll post pics probably Monday, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens tomorrow. I'm not sure what my schedule is going to be in the shop. So either tomorrow or Monday, we'll get some pics of the demolding of these things. We'll take a look and see what we got. Cross our fingers that the milky white ones aren't just kind of blown out with milky white looking stuff. But like I said, even if they don't look good, they still may turn into something kind of cool. And so hopefully, let's see here. Is there anything else? The blanks are all up for grabs on my website. I think that's it. Oh, one thing, don't forget, guys, that the ornament challenge is on, right? So just a little reminder, you only have, I know that it seems like it's really far away, but I'm starting to kind of freak out because I need to get mine going. We only have until you need to have your ornament. I'm just going to look this up before I say anything. Pretty sure that you need to have the ornament, like Turner's Warehouse has to have your ornament. Oh, where's the information? There it is. By deadline to submit Turner's Warehouse, like your package has to be in their hands by November 20th. That's what I thought it was, but I just wanted to double check. So not like postmarked, like the package postmarked, like they have to physically have the box, your ornament by November 20th. So, we got a month or so, but you got to kind of, think about what you're going to make. And I'm pretty excited about what I'm going to do. Just to give you guys a little bit of a hint, which maybe next week we might work on this actually, because like I said, I need to get this going. What I want to do is actually merge the ornament stuff with the bespoke pen making. And so what I want to do is I want to create 2 different blanks, and then we're going to tap and thread them so that they thread together. And then, like maybe shape them, separately, and then you thread them together using the same taps and dies. I thought it'd be kind of I thought it'd be kind of fun personally, but I think it's, you know, a lot of people are maybe you're getting into the bespoke pen making, the kitless pen making, and you're picking up all these taps and dies and all this stuff, and really they seem like they have a use to make pens with. Well, you can utilize them for other stuff. You know, you don't have to just use them for putting a cap and a body together on your pen. You could, you know, kind of utilize these types of things to do different, you know, operations or projects. So I thought it'd be pretty cool to do that. The issue is I need to figure out like okay, so that's great. Like I kind of have this idea in my head, but I don't know, I haven't like sketched anything or thought about what color, you know, like what type of blanks I want to do, you know, shape, any of that stuff. I don't know what's happening, but either way, it should be pretty fun. So maybe next week we'll start working on the blanks. Yeah, I like a funky green, but I was trying to go for the, you know, something, trying to get that picture matched. Yeah, hopefully, you know, it's fun to get into resin, and I think a lot of people get kind of a little bit, I don't know, they're a little bit like not scared, but they're, you know, people don't get into it because they're it's like everything, you know, you're like, I don't really know what to expect. I don't know what I'm doing. But the nice thing is, for the most part, as long as you stay with simple stuff, don't get too overcomplicated. Like, don't be like, I want to get into resin and I'm going to make this gigantic, you know, 30-gallon bowl blank and wood and all. Like, if you overcomplicate it, you're going to have issues. So don't start out there. Do simple things with resin and you'll get, you know, kind of wins under your belt, and you'll learn and get the feeling down. That's the problem, is if you're trying to do something super complicated and you've never even done it before, you're guaranteed to fail, and it's going to cost you time, money, and all that stuff. So just do simple stuff to start out, get some projects under your belt, and you'll be fine. And if you really want, you know, if you really need a lot of help, like you're really like, I don't really know, I want to make sure that I understand what's happening, whatever. That's why I did the ebook. It just, there were so many people that would not get started. They're like, I want to do it, but I'm not sure. I'm worried. So the ebook is super beginner level. It just kind of covers all of the things that you really need to know, that if you do this wrong, these are going to be the problems, right? That's the biggest thing you need to know, is if I do X, Y, and Z wrong, I'm going to fail. And so that's what I tried to cover in that ebook, is, you know, what do you need to know to get decent results and to understand. I also think it helps to understand resin. A lot of people don't really get what, you know, resin is and how it works. So it's kind of like those basic, you know, ideals is in my ebook. And hopefully, you know, like I said, you can look at that if you want to, but you don't need an ebook to try it out. I just don't overcomplicate things is my biggest suggestion. So anyway, guys, I hope you have a great rest of the day. I'm going to get some more blanks. I actually need to pour some more of those dark energy blanks. I want to make sure that I got enough on hand, because I already literally, after I did an email on Wednesday and they sold out in the first day. So I'm going to stock those guys up. I think it looks like I might have to stock up some more of the Alien Desert ones too now, but I hope you guys get in the shop and do some resin casting. Hopefully you got a chance to look at the solar eclipse if it was in your neck of the woods. And I think that's about it. So I will post some shorts and reels and all those types of things of the demolding of these guys on Sunday or Monday. And we'll see you guys back here next Saturday at noon. Pacific time, and we'll, like I said, I think we're gonna have to start working on those ornament blanks. It should be pretty cool. So yeah, Turner's Warehouse is doing on their Wednesdays, and they also have videos. They like did a little editing, so some of them were a little bit long. I think they shortened them and got more to the point. So head over to the Turner's TV channel. I'm gonna drop a link to their channel. Make sure to subscribe, because if that's something that you're interested in, you know, getting into the you know, custom pen making where you're doing all the threading and taps and dies and all that stuff, definitely go and check out their live streams, their replays of them, and tune in, because they're excellent. There's a few channels that kind of show some stuff. RJB Woodturner, he's got quite a bit of stuff on his channel about custom pen making. There's a couple other ones that are I don't know, how excellent the information is necessarily, but Chad did a really good job with his live streams, giving you what you need to know. That's the thing, is it can kind of get a little bit crazy. He's like, here, if you're going to get into it, here's what you need to know, and here's how to get some basics, how to make a basic pen. So it's really good videos. So anyway, guys, I will see you guys on the next live stream. Have a great rest of the night, and I will see you, I already said I'll see you later. So have a good one, guys.